Afro-Latinos, the Untold Story.
Give Afro-Latinos a voice, unravel the truth, and teach the stories never taught to us.
The title came from that sense that the story was never taught to us. It wasn't told to us. You know, as Latinos, as Dominicans, Colombians, Cubans, we're taught one side of a story, which is that Columbus sailed the ocean blue, he came to Latin America and saved us. It was really about unifying African Americans and Afro-Latinos here in the U.S. You know, so we understand that we share a story that you may not be aware of. I mean, it's an identity thing, so we're very aware of the pelo bueno, pelo malo, good hair, bad hair. You know, Chris Rock just did a documentary. That's a subject that's very, very powerful and not just affecting the African American community.
Because there's a miseducation of the African experience in the Americas. I think that for the most part in the United States, it's couched around the African American U.S. experience. But what's left out is that more than 150 million African descendants live in the Caribbean, in Central America, and in Latin America.
It's these descendants and U.S.-born Afro-Latinos who are raising awareness of the divide that exists between dark-skinned Latinos who do claim their African roots and those with lighter skin complexion who don't.
I see it in my classrooms all the time. You know, an African-American young person born here will look at a Dominican and say, but you're as black as I am. What's your problem, you know? And you'll see a Dominican and a Puerto Rican going at it, no, porque yo soy más claro que tú, que el pelo bueno, que el pelo malo, looking at hair texture and so on.
Sometimes I always felt like we were black people that spoke Spanish. I think sometimes with some of my friends that were lighter skinned Latinos, they might have tried to blend into the white world. Some of us that were darker skinned, we had no choice.
When you look on a screen or in a magazine or whatever media you might take in, there's definitely going to be an impression left on you.
There's no one dark-skinned. Everybody's pretty, light-skinned, and skinny.
I only see white people, white Hispanics. I normally don't see darker-skinned Hispanics. I don't know, I just found that a little racist.
90% of the Dominicans are Afro-descendants. How do Dominicans see their African heritage, their blackness? Juan Rodriguez, an anthropologist, works for the Ministry of Culture as its Director of Cultural Diversity.
How would people describe you, given your beautiful mahogany color?
Well, here I am as Indio.
Indio.
I'm supposed to be Indio here.
Help me to understand, as an American, I'd never heard of this phrase, Indio. Where does it come from?
Well, by the 19th century, we didn't have any native indigenous people.
No.
Like in South America, so it didn't apply to us. But it was a way to use the word Indio to actually negate our African ancestry and then became something else, because when you look at Dominicans, we cannot say, honestly, that we are Anglo-Saxon. If you look around, I mean, look at me. I am black.
You're black. Did you feel this way, Juan, when you were growing up, or did you have to learn that you were black?
Actually, and I am sad to say, I had to learn to be black.
How did you learn?
Well, I went to New York as most Dominican, and all of a sudden I felt that my roots were in Africa, not in Spain like here. Even today, here everybody says the motherland here is Spain.
So who's black in Dominican society? In America, all these people would be black. But here, who's black?
Well,
Negro. Who's Negro?
I think nobody's Negro here. If we are told you are black, oh no, I'm not black. I am something else. Dominicans are in complete denial of who they are. Look at this. For Dominicans, this represents African heritage, sambos. This is nothing but sambos. So that explains why people, the way they portray Africans, why a kid would not say, I am African, because that's what they give you, that's what they show you.
When I first came to this country, I identified myself as a Dominican. I didn't identify as a black person. And it took going to college and taking African American courses for me to determine that I am black.
The video
was amazing. There was a lot that was said that I didn't know. And I heard also other people in the audience saying the same thing, that they didn't know that we had that kind of history and that there were that many different peoples living in the Dominican Republic. So it was very educating.
Thousands of first-generation Dominicans are unable to work, study, or travel because authorities in charge of issuing documents no longer recognize them as citizens, even though the Constitution does.
They despise us because we're black. But we aren't Haitians, we're Dominicans. Our children want to prosper, but they won't give us the papers.
Discrimination against Haitian guest workers and their children goes back to the days of former dictator Rafael Trujillo. In 1937, almost 40,000 Haitians were massacred in a campaign to whiten the Dominican Republic's mixed-blood population. But still, Haitians cross the border daily into the Dominican Republic to find work.
The biggest irony is that almost everyone in this country has an ancestor that came here from Africa as a slave to cut sugarcane, like this. But it's an ancestry that many would just as soon forget.
Anyone who is very black is discriminated against in this society that admires lighter skin and straight, soft hair. Do you know what they call me? Rubia. A blonde.
It's not a black and white matter. In the Dominican Republic, it's all about shade. The lighter, the sweeter the sound. The darker, the tougher the prospects, no matter how hard you go to bat, especially if, like Angel Luis, your parents come from Haiti.